This year's exhibition, we had more submissions than any year before. We had 725 pieces of artwork were submitted to the show. So tons of work. Laila had her work cut out for her as a juror, and I don't know what, I'm thinking about what that means, like why the influx of all this artwork, but it's super interesting and we were really encouraged by it, and we're looking forward to next year's show. We do the show every year, so if you're not in the show and you're interested in submitting, you can keep an eye out. But on the opportunities page of our website for exhibitions, there's a bunch of other opportunities throughout the year, so you can take a look at those. We had work from 19 different states submitted. There's work from Los Angeles and Colorado in the show, kind of spread out all over the country. And we're just super pleased with the exhibition. So let us know if you have any questions or if you have any thoughts. We'd love to hear your thoughts about the exhibitions as well. But today we're going to hear from our juror Laila Jadallah. And I'm going to read you a quick bio from Laila, and then I'm going to turn it over to her. So, Laila Abdul-Hadi Jadallah's career and independent work spans exhibition and program development and curation, cultural heritage protection, communications and community engagement, and outreach. Jadallah is currently the Manager of Arts and Culture for the City of Frederick, and she has previously held senior level roles at the Qatar American Institute for Culture, Washington Studio School, the Fabric Workshop and Museum, Art Fraud Insights, and International Arts and Artists, where she worked with numerous arts and culture institutions, technology companies, and other partners on numerous international exhibitions and public programs. She's an independent consultant, and Jadallah has curated and produced several contemporary art exhibitions. She received a BA in Integrative Studies from the School of Integrative Studies at George Mason University, and her MA from Georgetown University's Walsh School of Foreign Service, where she focused on modern and contemporary cultural production, heritage, and diplomacy. Jadallah is a member of the board of the directors of GMU's College of Visual and Performing Arts, and is a member of Art Table Incorporated, the Association of Art Museum Curators, and the Arts Administrators of Color Network. Her work has been featured in the Washington Post, DC Modern Luxury Magazine, Canvas Magazine, the New York Times, and more. Would you welcome Laila Jadallah?
It's such a pleasure to be here with you all today. Thank you for coming on this lovely day that we have here. Thank you, Corey, for the invitation to jury this exhibition this year and for the generous introduction. I wanted to just, for anybody who works in the arts or is interested, I always like to just touch briefly, and I won't say much because Corey included a lot in my introduction, but talk about all the different things I've done in the arts. I've had a very non-linear path, but I feel like they all somehow touch on each other and reflect on each other. So I grew up right outside of Washington, D.C. I'm Palestinian American, and the arts for me, I really discovered, my mother used to take me to the National Gallery and all the museums since we moved to this country when I was really young. So I've always loved the arts, but I realized I wanted to work in the arts when I was an undergraduate student at George Mason University and took a class called Art, a Social Action, which was all about how art is used to educate people, to help people develop more understanding of each other, and that set me on my trajectory. So as Corey mentioned, I've gone to work in a lot of different fields, and all throughout I've had the pleasure of being around a lot of artists, particularly in Washington, D.C., where I've spent most of my career for the past 15 years before coming to Frederick just a little over a month now. So I'm new to this city. I'm really excited to be here. And any artists or anyone interested in the arts that lives and works here, I would love to chat with you if you have any ideas or anything you want to talk about. As someone in my position, I'm looking forward to engaging with the arts community here further. So it was very serendipitous that I accepted this position almost a year after Corey asked me to do this show. So I just wanted to give a little bit of background. What else did I want to say? So one of the places that I worked for 4.5 years, and before that served on the board, was an arts studio school in Washington, D.C. called Washington Studio School. It was 30 years old when I became the managing director, and it really expanded my understanding of what it takes to be an artist and all of the different ways that people come to becoming artists. The school served teens and adults, and many of the adults that were there were people who had all different kinds of careers, from lawyers to public service to educators to obviously working artists who would come and take classes at the school. And we also exhibited and had workshops with national artists and all sorts of media. And that really, just getting to see artists attend classes and learn all of these different mediums really increased my appreciation for the whole process of how one creates a work of art and all of the different ways you can do that and perspectives that become visible in that. So after that, I pivoted a little bit to doing more cultural diplomacy kind of work, which is something, as somebody who's Arab American, has always interested me because there's so much misconceptions and stereotypes about the region where I'm from. And so I have, at the core, always felt that art was such a powerful way for people to build relationships with each other, to be able to share different stories through their work. And I've done a lot of different curating and jurying exhibitions, so I just have really had the pleasure over my career to be around a lot of artists and to look at a lot of art. So I'm really, hi Jillian, I'm really happy to be here and honored to have been asked by Corey to jury this show. And as Corey mentioned, there was a lot of work to look at. I'm sorry, just my computer slept on me. There was a lot of work to look at. These are just some small examples of work, of exhibitions I've had a chance to work on. This image shows, we would have a student show every year at Washington Studio School, so it was like all the students would submit work to be included, and that was always an exciting time to be at the school. These two images are shows that I curated, one of photography, which I say is always my first love, and then a show with all sorts of media in it in Washington, and then working on some other exhibitions that incorporate installation, technology, and address different issues like climate change as well. So I've been lucky to be able to work in this field for as long as I have. So I didn't want to spend too much time talking about myself. I really wanted to first say to all of the artists that submitted, it was a really, really difficult show to jury because of what Corey mentioned. There was an astronomical amount of art to look at, and I wanted to just share a little bit of my process for how I selected work. I like to look at the work several times, so I went through all of the work submitted 3 times, and at least 3 times, and I think that you have to look at work multiple times because every time you look at it, you think a little bit differently. So I looked at it several times before starting to narrow things down. And then, and I want to thank Corey and the team here for entertaining. What I wanted to do was include more installation work in the show, but I really felt like there was so much strong art that couldn't be included, but I'm really happy with how the show came out, and Corey and the team did a beautiful job of installing the show. But 3 major themes really came up for me as I was looking through the work. One of the first ones was a response to the human condition and all different kinds of media, and that you'll see some work in the exhibition that deal with current socio-political issues or very personal work that responds to things that the artists are responding to. Experimental, so I was really drawn to all the work in the that was submitted that was mixed media, really worked to bring together different kinds of styles of art into one, or different media in one as well. So you'll see a lot of work that relates to that. And finally, figurative work, which again, after being at Washington Studio School, my appreciation for how difficult it is to create a strong work of art based on observation, which a lot of artists do, really, I was drawn to a lot of work that was from that as well. So that's basically how I selected the work for the show, and I'm glad that there were so many artists from all over the country represented, and it seems like several who are local to Maryland or Frederick or the area. So I would love to talk with you all. I know there's several of the exhibiting artists in the show, so thank you all for coming, and I look forward to chatting with you all. And that's basically it. I was so pleased to see how the show came out walking in here a couple of hours ago, and I am happy to answer any questions or invite any of the exhibiting artists as well to say a few words if they like. So, thank you.
Any questions?
Oh, yes. Hi. Oh, sorry, I didn't mention. So I work now in the mayor's office as the manager of arts and culture. So it's a new position in the city, so I'm very honored to be in that position. And the idea is to help support the artist community here, partnerships to help grow where public art in the city lives, to other parts of the city as well outside of downtown. And also developing more of a strategic plan for how all of that can happen. So I'm very excited to be here. I know I flew through my background, but I am excited to get to work in a slightly different element, which is related to policy. And I've gotten to do a few public art, or actually a fair amount of public artwork over the years in different capacities, but I'm excited to think about how to continue to make art accessible to different people through this role. So, yeah.
Could you just say a little more about your 3 areas, and each of the areas, the kind of perspective that you were bringing, and if they're different between the areas?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you. I would be happy to. So, you can probably tell from the exhibition, if you have or have not had a chance to walk around, hopefully you will have a chance to after, but there's a lot of overlap between the themes, but I also felt like when I looked at all of the work that we selected, and it was less than I think what has normally been selected just because of the scale of some of the work that I ended up choosing, but that a lot of the work of all media reflects obviously everything from like a still life to the environment, to the artist's the artist's environment as well as the physical one. And so what I kept seeing was these three kind of major arenas, and as I mentioned, there is overlap, but there are some really, I guess, more obvious pieces that speak to the human condition, like two that are in the window, you can't see them from here, that are exhibited in one as you enter, that really speak directly to socio-political issues. That's work I am always drawn to because that's sort of my schooling, I would say, in the arts. And then experimental, so you can see all throughout, actually all of the galleries, there's work that is, like there's a small piece next to the oil painting there that's a photographic print on a sculptural piece, for example, or there's a lot that incorporate imagery and stitching. And there's, you know, there's a lot of textural work, I would say. I'm really drawn to textural work. There's some paintings that are more 3D. So that's what I mean with experimental, is that there's several works in the show that really mix different media together, and I felt really strongly. And again, I think art is all subjective, so what I like, other people don't have to like at all, and that's what I think makes art really special too. And then figurative work, so like there's several paintings, there's several mixed media work too, or drawings that show the figure, I think in a really wonderful way as well. Yeah, thank you.
Talk a little more about your position here in Frederick,
Yes.
Mayor. I mean, what is like, I hate to say mission statement, but like, what are your real goals? I mean, what do you do day to day? I mean, I think that's
Sure.
not right, that's not a little course, but like,
No, not at all.
like, can
Yes.
you elaborate a little bit
Sure.
on, you know, what you expect to happen in 1 year, 2 years, stuff like that?
Sure. So I've been in my position now for just a little over a month. So I'm still in a very exploratory phase from what has been done before. A lot of work thanks to the members of the Public Art Commission, and I know other cultural institutions in Frederick, like the Frederick Art Council, and I know there's so many more, and I'm still learning and getting to know everybody. But the goal is really to continue, well, one thing is to make the city's art collection more publicly available. So City Hall has a lot of historical objects, for example, that have been donated or acquired by the city, as well as the works of public art that the city has funded over the years. So one is to make the collection accessible, and conservation is a big part of it too. So I'm figuring out now how to move some of the work that's already been done on that forward. And then secondly, to think about how public art can be used, for example, in capital improvement projects. There's a lot of really wonderful things happening in the realm of public art in terms of how it's utilized. And so thinking about it through that perspective, trying to make, as I mentioned, where public art in the city lives more equitable to other parts of the city. The city has goals to make all of Frederick, you know, the whole city, continue to rise. And so that includes a lot of areas outside of downtown, which they spent a lot of time revitalizing, you know, historically, as I'm sure locals know that more than I do. And to really also be a resource, I would say, for artists and for cultural institutions who want to do something art or culture related in the city, because there's many different departments sometimes you have to go through to make like a festival come together or do something like that. And so my role is to be a resource for that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. So right now what I'm doing is basically trying to meet as many people as I can and figuring out what's been done so I know how to move things forward. And I welcome anybody to, I think I have some cards with me, but to send me an email or to stop by, and I would love to hear people who are from Frederick or visit Frederick what they would like to see. Yes?
I'll preface my question first by saying I'm not the artist of said piece, so no personal gain or interest here. But
Sure.
In terms of the one that was selected for the Best in Show, can you speak of, I know which of the categories it falls more under of the three, but which you feel it falls under, most, and why it was selected?
Oh, we didn't announce that yet, actually. Corey will announce those works. So I can definitely speak to, well, I guess I'll preface Corey announcing the winners by just saying there's a lot of different work in the show, obviously, and so I tried to pick, it was really hard. I walked around several times and kept changing my mind about about who should get the prizes, because there's truly some remarkable work in this show, and so I think, yeah, it was hard, but you'll see hopefully from the decisions that I tried to spread it across the different kinds of work that is represented.
Then am I wrong? Was I looking at last year's winner?
Maybe.
Okay.
Yes.
Where are you seeing it?
I saw something on the exhibition page.
Of the website. Yeah, that was last year's one.
Sorry.
Nope.
No, it's okay.
Still a relevant question.
Kind of on that, when you were curating the show, you said you looked at it you looked at each piece 3 separate times.
Yes.
So I'm curious, how long in between each time did you not look at any art? And then, did you decide the Best in Show and runner-up when you came to look at the pieces physically, or did you have an idea before you saw them in person? I guess just kind of talk through that process.
Yeah, sure. So one thing that I have done, even when I curate a show that's not a juried show, is, yeah, I've learned this actually when I studied photography. When you're looking at a ton of images, is you have a gut reaction, and then you go back and look at it again and again. So at least 3 times, because as I mentioned, your mind can change, or you have a gut reaction, then you look at it a little bit longer, and then you take a break, and then you look at the work again. And so that's kind of, I took that method that I learned when I studied photography into how I curate and or juried the show as well. So I did not a quick pass, but you kind of go and do a gut reaction selection, and then I went back a couple of hours later and did another pass through the work and looked at it. Well, actually, I should say the first time I just look at the work. I don't start picking. So there's there's a step before that. And then I looked at it again, and then when I emailed Corey my original selections, we had to go back and narrow down again because of the scale of some of the work that I chose. So I had to go back again, and that gave me another chance to look at the work for the selections. But I think when you see all the work together, like I mentioned, that's how those themes I realized these are the 3 themes that kind of popped out at me. And when I slept on it, as they say, that's what I kept thinking about. I think these are the 3 main themes that tie the work together that's in the show, because it's really hard to get a show that I think all speaks to each other in this way. And then in terms of selecting the winners, I think anybody who looks at art, it's really hard to see. You can read descriptions, and you can obviously see work 2-dimensionally on a computer screen, but it's very different when you see it in person. So I made those selections today for the winners. And as I said, it was still really hard to do that. So, yeah, thank you. Anybody else?
Well, if there's no other questions,
Thank you.
announce winners for the show. Give Laila a hand. If you're one of the artists in the National Juried Exhibition, would you raise your hand? Awesome. Thank you all for being here. So we give out 4 awards for this show. There's an honorable mention, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st place. And so I'll announce those now. And if you would, just come up and see me. Maybe we'll just do it afterwards. Come up and see me, and we'd love to get a picture with you, maybe with Laila. So, first up is honorable mention. The work is, the artist is Rhonda Smith's piece, William W. Johnston, and that's, sorry, right around behind the TV over here. Rhonda, are you here? I haven't seen her. Okay. Okay, 3rd place is Lynn Njuen's Vitality, which is a sculpture on the pedestal right here. Is Lynn here? Oh, I thought she was going to try to make it, but okay. Second place is Charlotte Putak's piece, Unfurl, which is the painting right back yonder. With the lady laying down. Is Charlotte here? I don't see Charlotte. Okay, 1st place is Christina Penowet's When We Are, They Are Us, and that's the piece that you can see, the red piece installation there through the hall. Okay. Just real quick, if you're interested, we are going to have some exhibition guides for the exhibition that will be at the front desk. We ran into a little bit of a issue with getting them printed for today, but come back and see us. But thank you all very much for being here. We appreciate it.